So with this, I would like to welcome you, all the participants and the speakers to today's webinar on spreading citizen science in the Western Balkans. So I would like to briefly also share my screen. And this is actually strange why it starts here, but we want to welcome you to the webinar, and I would like to just briefly mention what are our objectives for today. We want to briefly start and inform what is citizen science to set the scene. We want to raise awareness why this is a really great tool, and we want to share information about existing initiatives and about the things, how this can be used by stakeholders in the Western Balkans, and inspire everyone also to get further involved. For this, we also want to start with some motivational pitch because you have the opportunity to receive through a call that has just opened last week some 10,000 euro if you have already a citizen science initiative and you want to work on its sustainability, or 20,000 euro for a newly launched kickstarting citizen science project. And you would also receive funding, apart from this funding, training and mentoring. So there's another activity of impetus that is the European Union Prize for Citizen Science. And all this has now some great timing. So the calls are just opened and they close in March. So everyone who feels inspired by our webinar, I think this is a very timely opportunity. And additionally, a last announcement also, we want to invite everyone to our project's final event on the 8th and 9th of February. This webinar is organized in the frame of the WBC RRINet project, which has received funding from Horizon 2020, the EU framework program for research and innovation. As you might have seen already through the shared slides, we want to use a little bit the Menti tool to ask you for some associations and questions that we can address at the very end of this meeting. However, for an exchange during the process of this webinar, we would like to ask you to use very actively the chat of the Zoom tool. So please join us on Menti. Go in any browser to www.menti.com and enter the code 39161640. You will see the code also in all the slides that I've shown. I already see 4 thumbs up, so this is great to see. And while other people are joining, I'll bring up the first slide, which is just again on to arrive. How are you doing? So are you just a little tired and looking for inspiration? Are you interested to learn and to collect the information, or are you just thrilled and can't wait to get going? Or are you busy and probably will write some emails while parallel listening to us? So this shows that more people are arriving to our exchange, and this is just great to know. I want to just briefly also tell you what you can expect. We will start right away with the presentation by the experts. As I mentioned, for some questions to the experts, please use the chat. And at the very end, we will collect some final questions and feedback. And you can already, throughout the webinar, answer the question about your associations and your thoughts when you hear citizen science. And we will see also how these evolve maybe throughout the webinar. And while we can start with the opportunity, the community, the empowerment with our first speaker, who is Claudio Fabu Cartas from the European Citizen Science Association. I will stop sharing my screen, and I invite Claudia warmly to unmute herself and to share her screen for the webinar. Works perfectly.
Thank you, Elke.
Thank you,
everyone.
Gloria.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to participate in this event representing EXA as well as the ECS project. This will be a short presentation of around 10 minutes, so I will not go super deep into the topic of citizen science, but what I intend to do is to set the scene for the presentations that will come after me, and that will go more into detail. I want to highlight some aspects of citizen science that I deem important, and I want to provide you with some resources that you can check after the event. So for that, I will cover what is citizen science generally. I will very briefly introduce the EU Citizen Science Platform and the ECS project to you, and then I will highlight some EXA resources and opportunities that might be interesting. The last of my slides is a slide collecting all the links and resources that I will be talking about. So after the event, I guess when the organizers share it, you will have everything I've shared. So don't worry writing everything down. So what is citizen science? Since the 2000s, more or less, citizen science has become an emerging area of research and practice, and examples of it are found in different scientific disciplines that interpret the term slightly differently. And so citizen science comes with dynamic standards, methodologies, theories, and techniques that change over time. That means that providing a universal definition of what is and is not citizen science can prove very challenging. Still, you see here, there is an extract that I have taken from the explanation of citizen science on the EU Citizen Science platform. I will read it aloud, and I have chosen this one because it highlights some aspects that I would like to share with you. So this one says, citizen science is any activity that involves the public in scientific research and thus has the potential to bring together science, policymakers, and society as a whole in an impactful way. Through citizen science, all people can participate in many stages of the scientific process, from the design of the research question to data collection and volunteer mapping, data interpretation and analysis, and to publication and dissemination of results. So the main aspects that I wanted to highlight are these three. The fact that citizens or the public or people, depending on the word you prefer to use, are actively involved. That citizens have a meaningful role in citizen science projects or activities, can have different roles, and that means they can also be engaged in different ways. More on this a bit later. And also the importance to harness citizen science to bring together science, policymakers, and society and bring about change where it is needed or where it can happen. Some interesting resources to look at and get a better understanding of citizen science and its broadness are the 10 principles of citizen science and the EXA characteristics of citizen science. And they look like that. They are linked on the last slide. The 10 principles were developed by the EXA working group sharing best practice and capacity building, and are, the title is self-explanatory, Principles on Citizen Science. You can find them in English, but also 37 other languages. And the EXA characteristics of citizen science aim to represent a wide range of opinions in an inclusive way. They allow for different types of citizen science projects and programs, and they explain a bit of context-specific criteria. This goes hand in hand with what I was saying before, that depending on the area or the context, citizen science can take shape in a way or another. If you're interested in this, I would say you better read first the 10 principles and then you deep dive into the characteristics. And here you have a slide with some benefits of citizen science. I wanted to highlight this to you in case you are new to this and you're listening or hearing about citizen science for the first time. So by participating in a citizen science project, you can contribute to science, you can learn about a topic. You also have the ability to provide evidence, for example, about odor pollution or about noise in an area, and this can potentially inform policymaking. Also, depending on the activity that you are involved in, you can develop valuable skills and also get a better understanding of scientific processes. Citizens, scientists, or better said, formal scientists, can get data from places they wouldn't get otherwise. For example, biodiversity data from your own garden that they wouldn't have access to. And thanks to the effort of citizen scientists, there's a large quantity and quality of data that can be collected or analyzed. The list goes on, and you can imagine the list for challenges has also some elements. I won't touch on them today, though. And here you might imagine what is this INVA plan? What's this example of a citizen science project? As I was mentioning, there are different ways to implement citizen science, and the colleagues presenting after me will introduce you to some projects in more detail. I only wanted to show you 3 examples a bit superficially, so you can get a grasp of the broadness of citizen science. And I have found the 3 projects that I will share with you on the EU Citizen Science platform, or I knew them before, so they are linked at the bottom of the slide. This first project, for example, is called INVA Plan, and its aim is to detect and monitor invasive alien flora in Spain. So they want to raise public awareness of the problem, and for that they aim to empower citizens to register the presence of invasive alien species through the iNaturalist app. Maybe you have heard about iNaturalist before. This is an example of a project on biodiversity that involves citizens through observation and data collection. The next one is also an example of citizens contributing to observation and data collection, but it's in a completely other domain. This project called Linkscape is in the area of social sciences and linguistics. So the aim of this project is to explore the diversity and dynamics of linguistic landscapes in public space. And with this project, the organizers of the team behind it, they aim to create awareness of the important role of language in public for our perception in everyday life. The way that citizens contribute here is by taking pictures of signs and lettering and uploading them to the app. So you see, it's quite different. And the last of the examples is from the project UCount. This is an EU-funded project ending this month. This also falls within the social sciences, but engages young people in this case in another level. This project falls within what we call citizen social science, and it aims to bring together young people and relevant stakeholders to increase social inclusion for young people. So the young citizen scientists here were involved or participated as young co-researchers. You remember the different ways of or roles or contributions that citizens can have in a citizen science project. This project has taken a hands-on approach where young citizen scientists contributed with their own knowledge on social inclusion and co-created together with policymakers, community leaders, and other actors in their communities and regions knowledge and innovation to contribute to increasing social inclusion in practice. So you see 3 very different projects that can be found on the EU Citizen Science platform. So moving on to that, what's the EU Citizen Science platform? This platform was launched in April 2020, so a while ago, but it continues being developed within the ECS project. This platform was built by and for the community. And during the ECS project, the community is involved in a co-design process to continuing developing it. This platform is the place to share knowledge, tools, training, and resources for citizen science. So if you are interested in learning more about it, I encourage you to visit it. Here you see, if the video plays, a scroll down of the landing page of the platform from some months ago. There are over 300 projects, a lot of resources, which can be a bit daunting, but you can filter them and find what you're looking for. There's also training for free, so I invite you to check out the platform. Here's also a bit of a summary of what's in it for you. You can learn about citizen science and see what others are doing, join their events, read up on the blog. You can showcase your work and activities. So put there what events you're organizing for people to register. You can find best practices, get free training. You see the link below, moodle.eu citizen science, and so on. Now, this is a very, very quick overview, but maybe it piques your interest to check it out after the webinar. I mentioned before the ECS project. This might be interesting, or the activities of the project might be interesting in months to come if you decide to be involved in citizen science. We're running a citizen science project yourself. The aim of this project is to widen and strengthen the European citizen science community. And the project does that through capacity building and awareness raising activities. I myself am involved in this project as the project manager. It runs for 2.5 more years, and it aims to do a wide range of things. I won't go into detail in all of this, but what you can expect are many different activities, webinars, workshops, trainings, and so on. And what would also be interesting for you is the point here in yellow, developing the ECS Academy with retraining to increase the capacity to conduct citizen science. Sometimes new actors or organizations don't start doing citizen science because they maybe don't know where to start. So this can be a useful resource, the trainings that will be on the ECS Academy. And then last, it's not moving. No, last, I wanted to highlight 2 opportunities from EXA. EXA, in case you don't know it, it stands for European Citizen Science Association. It's a membership organization with many members. What I wanted to highlight, and might be interesting for you to have new contacts and join new networks, are the 16 working groups of EXA. They are on very different topics, for example, air quality, citizen science for health, projects, data, tools, and technology, or agri-food. So you see a wide range, and you're welcome to join them and see if it's in your interest to exchange with colleagues on these topics. And the EXA conference, which is coming up early April in Vienna. So if you're interested in getting to know the citizen science community, this is something that you could look at and see if it's of your interest. And here are all the resources. So I hope this gave you a short overview for the presentations that are to come, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Claudia. This definitely gave a very great round through the community that exists and all the resources. And this leads us to the presentation that our colleague from the WBC RRINet project, Jana Prodanova, has prepared, as we have working groups and we are looking into the communities and the scene that exist in the Western Balkans already. And so this is non-exhaustive, but still a very good overview that we're going to hear from Jana.
Hi, everyone. I will share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
I hope you can see it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as Ilka already said, this will be a very brief overview for the sake of time of the citizen science initiatives in the Western Balkans. Of course, here I didn't, I couldn't mention all of them. There are some of them that we are missing, but I'm sure that after this webinar we can continue discussing and add the list with more initiatives. So after that, I will speak about the results of a small citizen science activity that we've done as part of the project, and I will present the conclusions. Okay, about the citizen science in activities in the Western Balkans, what I can say generally is that I would like to emphasize 2 things. First is that some of the activities are locally or nationally oriented, but some of those activities are on a European or even worldwide level, which means that that there are finances coming from the countries per se, but also from European Union or European Commission projects or other European Union projects, which is interesting thing to have in mind because it is because of the interest that these countries have in citizen sciences and the institutions that are funding them. The other thing that I would like to emphasize is that Serbia is the leader in citizen science activities, with a wide range of them in different disciplines. So, as I said, I'm not going to get deeper into each of the citizen science activities that are developing in the Western Balkans at the moment. But what I would like to say is that most of them, in the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina or Republika Srpska or Montenegro, is the case that they are oriented more towards environmental issues or ecology or climate changes, and rather less or from my understanding until now, unexisting in the social sciences or humanities disciplines. As I said, there are initiatives that are worldwide oriented or towards Europe, and those basically are the ones that are collecting data for air quality index. Regarding the case of Albania and the Republic of North Macedonia, we have the same situation. Most of them are oriented towards nature, towards the nature. In Albania, many of them are related to the marine world. In Macedonia, many of them are related to the plant and animal habitat. But again, the most international initiatives are focused on air quality measures. And as I said, in Serbia, we have pretty wide range of activities, both in social sciences and humanities and natural sciences, which is something to really consider as a value. So as you can see from the list briefly, there are many activities about environmental issues, but as later our colleagues from Star Center will explain, there are other actions that are directioning in different that are addressing different topics. So regarding the results that we've received from the survey, we did, as I said, we did a small citizen science activity that was based on a participatory approach with 174 high school and university students, and they were asked basically about their perceptions about the value or opportunities from citizen science implementation and their current or future intention to engage in such actions. So first, I would say that the current involvement in citizen science projects is not really high. Most of them haven't been participating in citizen science at all, and those that have some experience in it, it was part of the formal education, which is interesting to see, because normally when we speak about citizen science, we think about it as something that is extracurricular. In this line comes the potential for citizen science in formal education, confirming that more than 70% of the students consider that there is potential for including citizen science as a methodology in the formal education. Those that have some experience in citizen science, of course, again, those projects were related to climate change, ecology, urbanization, something related to the environment, but we have also found projects that were related to economy, law, machine learning, or education. Next, we asked them about benefits that they perceive of the implementation of citizen science activities in the education. The general opinion is that, of course, there will be positive experiences, and those will be related to obtaining new knowledge or personal organization, an active involvement and awareness about the society in general, not only about the environmental issues, and on a more personal level, development of their research skills, problem solving, or communication and socialization. When we asked them to give suggestions about how to integrate citizen science in the education system, although there were comments that were suggesting that it will be difficult, especially because of the very broad curriculum right now at the secondary and the high school level and university level of education. They consider that it should be somehow implemented as part of mandatory courses. So it can be part of extracurricular courses, but most of them consider it should be part of the curriculum of the education. However, the method for doing this is always related to some practical and interactive exercises, projects, specialized labs, or direct engagement of professors and students in some collaboration between high schools and universities. Also, there was this suggestion that citizen science initiatives should be focused only on students with better high potential, with better let's say performance, and those should be in form of some national projects that would be financed, financially incentivized, and that would help students to perceive the quality of education that they are receiving. As per the opportunities or the problems, similar to the previous result, the opportunities have been seen in active learning of different subjects and improvement of critical thinking, problem solving, or scientific research skills, combined with sharing of experiences, opinions, and similar. On the other side, the problems that are perceived for the implementation of the citizen science, most of it are related to lack of knowledge and organization of implementation, or even lack of individual interest from part of the professors or from part of the students. Also, the very large curriculum, and finally, the challenge that new methodology will be implemented for learning, which might be seen as a problem. However, the general outcome of all of this is that students' intention to participate in citizen science activities in formal education or outside of the formal education is really high. As we can see, more than 70% here are voting, let's say, for including citizen science as part of the formal or informal educations. They are willing to participate, and they feel that they will very likely be part of some project in the future. However, as a general conclusion, what I would like to say is that they all express that there is lack of information about citizen science in Macedonia, especially lack of promotion. They're not aware of many projects and many initiatives that are happening here. So this is something that probably will have to work on more heavily. This is all from me. If you have any questions, please use the chat, and the presentation, of course, will be shared after that. So also you can contact me on my email, and we can continue discussing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jana. This is, I think, a very valuable sign how active the community already is also in the Western Balkans. As a next speaker, we have Elena Bušan from the University of Primorska from Slovenia, who is also an advocate and helping us in spreading the experiences further in the region, and always available to share what they are doing, spreading citizen science in Europe. And so the Western Balkans are very much a part of that initiative. And Step Change is one of those projects that she's coordinating. Elena, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Elke, and hello to everybody also from my side. I always said that as a biologist and ecologist, count Slovenia as a Balkan country, despite some people would disagree. So thank you, Elke. You already mentioned that already. So I would like to represent you the Step Change project and the experience and the lesson learned from the project we had in the last 3 years, which we are working with the project across Europe and Africa. So the general objective of the Step Change was to explore and implement the potential of citizen science in the special field of the biosciences, which we include 3 different areas connected with energy, health, and environment. And we try to study this involving 5 different citizen science initiatives in Slovenia, Germany, Italy, UK, and Uganda. As an output, we would like to make some different recommendations, like I was saying at the beginning. There are different perception what is a citizen science across the different discipline, and we would like to see what the things going on in biosciences. So these are the partners. As I said, there is 13 partners in the project. Most of them are from Europe, and 1 partner we have also from Uganda. So what are the citizen science initiative in the project? We can consider them as a small citizen science case studies. And in Slovenia, we have a citizen science initiative, wildlife monitoring and conservation. Then another one is in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in the UK. Then the 3rd citizen science initiative is on energy community in Germany. The 4th one is on infectious disease outbreak preparedness in Italy. And the last one is the off-grid renewable energy adoption in Uganda. So you can see that we try to cover at least most of the disciplines and the fields in the biosciences in the project. So now I would like to show you just quickly what we would like to share the experience and also what we learned through the project, and maybe in some cases also already the impact and outcome of this initiative. So regarding the wildlife monitoring in Slovenia, we know that, as already was also mentioned by the colleague Jana, that there are lots of projects going on the wildlife monitoring and observation. But what we did in the project, we would like to see, because most of these apps which are developed are in English, and there are not so many of them in local language and do not really engage the citizens who doesn't speak foreign language. So for this reason, we developed the app for the wildlife observation on Slovenian language. And at the beginning, we realized that there's a high motivation from hunters and nature observers. We even developed the 2 interface of the app for the both target group, and especially by using the citizen science app and by sharing through the different kind of media. But after the app was launched, after a few months, we see that the motivation decreased. This is really common in many kind when you are using this kind of citizen science app. So what we did for that, we need to upgrade our app. We put in the app the different notification, which we need to, as a scientist, work on them. We put the quizzes, we put the guidelines. We even put the way of they can communicate with us and ask the question through the app. And at the last, we also developed the app in English language. So for the people who do not speak Slovenian. So it was quite a challenge to get all of this information. So what we do learn from the Citizen Science Initiative, it was that only the results count. So if you want to work with the practitioners and the policymaker, it's really important that you start to share your results as soon as possible. It's not just the way you collect the data, but you need to already try to analyze your data as soon as possible with the help of the citizen scientists, of course, by using their traditional knowledge, because many times there are many things locally locally knowledge is also regarding the nature observation, and this can be given by nature observers and in the area. What was surprising for us was that the app became a quite valuable tool for engaging the school, because the app is developed in local language and they have guidelines how to recognize the species. So the children can go into the app, check how the species look like, and they can really then be engaged in the collecting the data when they go to the nature together with the teachers. We have also quiz, so they also children can some test the knowledge, how well they recognize some mammal species and the bird species which are easy recognizable. So what we would like to set as the outcome at the end is that, of course, this participation through the app, it was also recognizable then that the many workshop and event when we then organized at the university, they were much more recognizable, and the people, the children and the school come to our event. What we also learn is the way of communication. If you target a different citizen science group, even if they are all of them nature observer, you need to use the different channel and the different way how you communicate with them. And the third way is how you communicate with the policymaker and the stakeholder using your data, because you need to validate the data together with the citizen scientists, but all the data which are collected need to be validated before you share your results. Then what we learned through the citizen science initiative on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So this is a quite sensible part, because we're using here human as a research subject. And they realized that all of the people who are and the citizen scientists who were involved in the research need to be trained before in ethics and the data analysis. So there's a lot of contribution to the training and to the ethical part, and then they can contribute to the various article papers and project evaluation. This is also something I would like to stress, and I stress many times. The citizen science is not the public outreach and is not the data collection. Citizen science is much more. You need to involve the citizen scientists from the beginning of the project, from the data collection to the data analysis, to the interpretation, and then, of course, to the dissemination. This is a difference between the data collection and the public outreach. Not all the people who are collecting the data can be citizen scientists, and not all the people who are disseminate and come to the public event can be citizen scientists. What is really important when you're working with the project with a health issue is that you always have a delay, because you need to take in account that you need to have ethical approval, which include multiple organizations. So you keep this in mind when you plan your citizen science initiative. So what we do learn, they do learn, and we learn as a project, is of course that engaging in training it depends of the person who is taking the action, and action should be taken as soon as possible. But we learned a lot also for the future research. But to measure the impact in this very sensitive area, which is connected, as I said, with the health, we need a more studied related to this. Then another citizen science initiative which is coming to the energy communities is what in this area, because we ask the citizens to put some smart meters into their home. This initiative faced to quite a barrier, and people were not so much convinced why they should do that, despite that the project leader shows some benefits. So if they try to motivate the person and the household in the way they involve expert scientists, but also politicians of the region, and of course many other who are, for example, I would say energy provider, to convince somehow household to become part of this project. In some cases, also financial support was needed. So don't make as a rule that all the citizen science can be voluntary. In some cases, it won't work. So what would be the lesson learned is that the motivation is really important, and you need to think about the driver of this motivation, because they can be different in the different aspect of the citizen science initiative. They should be, of course, the organization get the valuable insight for the future citizen science project, how to make a communication, how to involve the expert, how to overcome this structural barrier, because we know the energy is important, because it's come to also the house budget, but it's really sometimes because of the lack of information and the lack of important stakeholders, you cannot have this kind of engagement like you would like to have it. And of course, the politicians and the energy provider and many other stakeholders were quite important. It's not that people just say, okay, I will put this smart meter in my house, even though it's for free. So the next one of the infection disease, this was a little bit, I would say, easier for the beginning because we have this COVID-19 pandemic and the people were quite aware what is happening with the disease when the disease is some disease outbreak. So, but despite this, there was they need some consultation of panelists and experts and citizen science because they realize that there was not so common to involve non-expert on this kind of project, but because people usually say, okay, with the disease outbreak, usually it should be on expert side, but sometimes it was not so easy to find a niche for the people who are not expert in the field. So there was quite a lack of connection between the citizen science and preparedness. And so the co-creation and the many workshop and many experience sharing, because also we can have this conspiracy theory which is going on. It's really important to define this before and through the citizen science initiative. They realized that including the private sector of the stakeholders the most challenges because pharmaceutical industry and other industry have other interest, and the time management is also really important. So at the end, what the outcome was that the successful collaboration, it really exists through the measurement impact and through the opportunities the citizen scientists can see if they participate in this kind of initiative. And the last experience is experience for our colleague from Africa, from Uganda. They work on the renewable energy adoption. And what was interesting for them, they realized because they work in the different field of renewable energy, the policymakers and the stakeholders, they would like to have 3 different policy brief. So each part of the field of renewable energy would like to have their own policy brief. They didn't want to have one policy brief, but because this was a really request from each field. They also face some challenges, especially with the training, because there was some other technological obstacles. If you would like to ask somebody to use the smartphone to make some Excel data, or there were even some literacy limitation because people doesn't understand some kind of wording we are using in the field. So they need a lot of training because before the citizens become a really citizen scientists and really become engaged also in preparation of the policy brief. So what do they would like to share with us? That the training is really important before any type of collection. And of course, the training in the whole phase of the citizen science projects, from the data collection to the dissemination, is needed. So it's not just to make one training for the data collection and nothing in between would get out as an outcome. And of course, involving also the different stakeholders from the beginning, so who will support the citizen science initiative is even much more beneficial. So just for the conclusion, I would say, instead of the conclusion, that we need to act responsible, but also collectively. And we need to be aware that there are differences in citizen science between different disciplines, that the participation of citizen scientists is highly appreciated, but all the data should be validated. So even if they are collected in the way we are suggest, we need to follow the ethical principles, like because these people are becoming like a scientist, and we know that we have a code of conduct in science, and these should be also aware that these people, if we are going to use this data, following the code of conduct, because they are citizen scientists, and it's really meaningfully to involve the citizen science and citizen scientists in developing the scientific idea, but we need to be also aware of the way we are going, in which phase of the project, who is going to be involved. So that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you so much, Elena, for sharing these insights. I think that there are a lot of issues that we can take up. We do have one experience from the WBCR INET project, which also worked on citizen science. Our colleague Kate Drami from Copland, from Tirana, will now share her lessons learned and experiences, and also the results that they obtained with a participatory and citizen science approach.
Thank you very
Kate,
much.
at the moment, we still see, yes, I think you need to. Perfect. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Elke, and thank you, Jana, for bringing this very interesting webinar together and finally talking about citizen science in the Western Balkans. It is a pleasure for me always to talk about this initiative that we researchers from Copland carried out very wholeheartedly. It was a joint work developed with the Albanian Ministry of Tourism and Environment. I will be presenting today the results of the Anchor initiative, which revolves around the question, what is the value of our wetland ecosystems? At the core of our research, we aimed to co-design and establish a scientific platform for mapping and assessing ecosystem services in the lagoon of Cunevaini, with information produced through citizen science, but not only produced, but also validated. And we aimed to enhance public engagement involving all actors of the quadruple helix, obviously. Subsequently, this platform was to be endorsed and to be owned by the regional administration of protected areas to better make decisions in the future regarding climate effect mitigations. How we used citizen science. Of course, in order to design this platform, we were aware from the beginning that aside from managing authorities of the lagoon, we needed to really work and develop and design our method with the target groups of local communities per se, daily users, inhabitants, tourists, as well as private businesses that have a significant role within these vulnerable territories. Their use of the resources, as well as the way that they monitor their own habitat, would be our core focus of the research. We use citizen science in the broadest meaning it can comprehend. We did not do a specific BioBlitz pilot campaign, but we did an enhanced public engagement, or let's say a public engagement on steroids, let's say. We were there with the communities steadily, repeatedly for over a year, working with all types of stakeholders, inhabitants, and otherwise to collect and analyze data to, in a context, of course, of data scarcity, and also to triangulate the existing secondary data with them and to interpret and validate results and findings. But also the interaction helps us bridge the gap between us as researchers and academic world, let's say, and the communities, helped us build trust, and also made it possible that we transferred the knowledge that we developed jointly with them to them in the future to encourage some type of behavioral change. Now, this lagoon, saying that it is very worth protecting, it's an understatement. It's, of course, one of the most important bird areas and biodiversity areas, one of the first protected areas in Albania. You can see some very general data here, but the value of this lagoon cannot even be comprehended with only data. And based on these inherent values of the lagoon and also some of the lesser known attributes, our approach was to map and assess 5 different ecosystems which were worth exploring, and their services that these ecosystems provide were actually the ones that were directly related to anthropocentric behavior, or let's say misbehavior, of the local communities. These include carbon dioxide storage service, sewage and water treatment from a service from the lagoon, productive activity of fishing, the flood protection service of the lagoon, recreational cultural services, and subsequently we also did a total economic value assessment, a perceptive assessment of what it means, of what economic value this lagoon has. Of course, we aimed to engage all factors of the quadruple helix, all subjects. It was the community was our main target. It was very difficult to build trust with them. The process needed a local intermediary, either a village head at the village or somebody that is a trusted community member almost throughout the whole period. So that was very difficult to bypass. But ultimately, we managed to analyze and to develop 112 surveys, very comprehensive surveys, where we aimed to assess socioeconomic status of the families that were living in the lagoon, behavior of them and daily behavior towards the lagoon, perception of their and feelings towards what the lagoon is representing for them, and their own observation of faults and of illegal activities that happened in the lagoon. And of course, this was our main takeaway, and this survey proved to be the most important product of our research work. Secondly, the engagement with the local and regional administration was also important. Of course, they were the main decision makers in the scenario building, and for us, it was important to engage them and to serve as an intermediation for them and the community, so that they can easily bring forth their and in a transparent way their agenda. Being also engaged in academic world through synergies with Polish University in Tirana, our research team had the pleasure to also organize a few events with students, architecture students, and also environmental studies students, which actually enriched the whole research. And the exchange was very inspiring, not only as teaching mechanism, but also for bringing the academic world and the community closer together. And lastly, to our surprise, it was the industry sector that proved to be the hardest to collaborate. Restaurant owners, specifically the fishery subject in the area, were very reluctant to provide data, felt attacked in some cases due to their historical collaboration with the administration. In any case, their input was one of the most valid to develop reliable data and to triangulate the existing data that was provided by secondary sources. Now, let's delve into some of our main findings. Through the monitoring of the water treatment service of the lagoon, so how well the lagoon diluates the agricultural wastewater that is produced by agricultural products, we encountered some very interesting results. The laboratory findings suggest that the dispersion of this pollution throughout the lagoon is also coincides with the areas where inhabitants also discharge their wastewater illegally to some degree in the lagoon, which is really interesting to know. The lagoon is currently heavily polluted and by phosphates, but also by heavy metals, and these are directly impacting the quality and quantity of fish production, but also of quality of water. This may in hand influence the water quality for drinking, which actually is extracted by artesian wells in the area, since there is no proper utility sewage channels, as these charts also indicate. So this treatment service that the lagoon is providing, unbeknownst to the population using and living there, is one of the most important, and we valued it up to 25 million euros, which is the replacement cost of the lagoon to clean up the same amount of pollutants. Another very important service that we mapped with the inhabitants is the fish production services. One of the main productive services that is encountered by the lagoon. We acknowledge that the quantity and quality of fish has decreased significantly in the last years, in 10 years, more or less, both in quantity as in diversity of species. And this change is attributed mostly to invasive species, but also to the general quality of the lagoon waters that has decreased. To produce a flood mitigation service assessment, the input from communities was essential. We asked all the households to map out historical flood boundaries that affected them and also to give us an estimation of the cost of these problematics. And through this information, through this participatory mapping, we managed to develop a very more or less detailed bathymetry map of the lagoon and also a map synthesizing the most common flood causes throughout the whole lagoon. And thus we assessed that if the lagoon did not exist, there would be a total level of flooding that would surpass 2,000 hectares aside from the current area, costing up to 146 million of euros to replace or to mitigate. In overall, we received a very interesting feedback from the surveys when we asked communities about the ecosystem they value most. They ranked biodiversity value and aesthetic value as the most important to them, but they do not act accordingly, let's say. They do very little to preserve their ecosystem. Inhabitants are very eager to contribute financially to the rehabilitation of the protected area, if they had the means, they say, but they are reluctant to change their own behavior for very, very sporadic things in order to promote a more sustainable ecosystem. In any case, this pilot helped us develop a very comprehensive and very good mapping of the situation of the lagoon currently. And these are some of the ways forward that we aim to achieve. We managed to capture a little bit the knowledge transfer that we produced during these surveys and during our constant interaction with the community through a focus group. And our findings suggest, through a self-assessment of the participants, that the knowledge for some of the main aspects of ecosystem services prior to the survey were a little bit lower than after the survey. So this made us believe that our knowledge transfer process had at least started. We aim to replicate this method more thoroughly within the existing ecosystem by assessing other ecosystem services, but also to replicate it in other similar vulnerable situations. So to conclude, of course, public engagement is one of the core elements that needs to be envisioned as part of policy making and the transparent decision making. It is time consuming, yes. It is fulfilling, yes. It is a very eye-opening process that makes you develop robust and forthcoming decisions, but also citizen science is very useful, especially in context of data scarcity, to triangulate existing information, to bridge the gap between academic and scientific discourse and societal challenges, and finally, to induce some behavioral change through some innovative solutions. So thank you very much. I would like to close this presentation with one of the sketches that one of the students visiting and working on the lagoon developed. And for further information, I'm very welcoming in my email address, but also subsequently after this presentation.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Kate. I always feel so inspired to go there, but also to participate in the analysis of what you're doing. So thanks for sharing this. You have also some questions in the chat that you can attend to. And now, as a next speaker, we're going to hear from a call for citizen science projects that was launched in Serbia. So we are going to see a lot more citizen science projects from Serbia, even if we heard there are already quite a few. And I think our colleague from the Center for the Promotion of Science, Bojan Koenig, will also tell us that there is a huge potential even more. So the floor is yours. We're keen to learn about your experiences.
Thank you, Elke, and thank you, Jana, for inviting us. I am happy to share some major outcomes of the first citizen science public call in Serbia. As Jana already mentioned, citizen science in Serbia is present for some time and developed, but this was first time that we had a specific call for funding projects in citizen science. So the Center for the Promotion of Science is a public institution. It was funded by the Ministry of Science in order to promote science, technology, and innovation. But the strategy of scientific and technological development of Republic of Serbia from 2021 highlighted the necessity of strengthening even more communication between society and the research and innovation system. And one of the measures that included a recommendation to advance the work of the center by organizing a public call for citizen science projects, for funding citizen science projects specifically. So we did this public call in 2023 under the auspices of Ministry of Science, Technological Development and Innovation. And the public call aimed to, had several, of course, goals, to encourage partnerships between researchers and citizens, to recognize a citizens' role in scientific research, to support projects leveraging participatory approaches, and to align projects with sustainable development goals. And for this call, because it was like a first time for citizen science, we didn't have a specific topic of the call, so it was very wide. And along with the project team members and citizens, applicants or coordinators of the projects were free to define research topic, to form teams, and to collaborate with relevant actors that were specified by the call. So who could participate and apply for this call? So we had for project coordinator, only coordinators or applicants could be a person from scientific research organization registered in Serbia. Therefore, also coordinating organization could be only from scientific research organization in Serbia, but partners could be other research organizations or other institutions outside the research community and academia. So there are some of the organizations that we listed here, but this was free for team members to decide and to have their plans. And of course, the involvement of citizens was mandatory. Citizens as individuals couldn't be partners in the team or team members, but they could and should be involved in all or any phase of the activities of the project and following the work plan. But we will see a little more specifically. So applicants use the online platform application on CPN website, and the application had to include all of these things. I won't go through them, but I want to emphasize that we ask from the applicants in project proposals to state a clear participatory approach that they will use in their project. So it was essential that they state that citizens and project team and researchers will be together involved in the implementation of activities within at least 2 of the phases of the project. And we defined 3 phases of the project. So initial, phase, implementation phase, and communication in dissemination phase. Initial phase covered the selection of project topics, then selection of research questions, project objectives, training, etc. Implementation phase covered data collection and data analysis, and the phase of communication and dissemination is self-explanatory. But in this way, we wanted to somehow make aware applicants that citizens can't be involved, as Elena, I think, mentioned. It is important that citizens are not only involved in one phase of the project, and we wanted to avoid that citizens are involved, for example, in communication and dissemination only, so then we would have something like outreach project. So the evaluation criteria was here, but we specifically asked applicants to refer to 10 principles of citizen science of European Citizen Science Association in order to justify the citizen science approach for the stated goals of the project. CPN is a member of EXA, and we follow key principles of this community because they underpin good practice in citizen science research, and also it was essential for applicants to define their contribution of their projects and the alignment of the project with the sustainable developmental goals. So the center prepared a guide for citizen science in a form of a booklet before the call was announced, in order to inform the applicants and citizens and everyone who was interested in some of the major, maybe advantages, but also challenges, and as a general guideline for preparing their projects. The call was open on October 2nd. We have Info Day on October 12th, and it was a huge interest in this event. We had a lot of participants and also a lot of questions. And the call closed on November 1st, so it was relatively short time for this kind of applications, but the application was relatively also simple. And after that, we had evaluation by the evaluation committee and final ranking list, and selected projects were announced on December 7th. So in all, 127 proposals were submitted to the call. All the projects except one met all the mandatory requirements of the public call, and we were a little bit surprised first by the number and by the very high quality of the applications. You can see, I won't go through these numbers, but the interest was huge and considerable. And a lot of institutions from mainly from major university cities were, of course, involved, because we expected that, because most of the researchers are from these towns. And unfortunately, only 6 projects could be selected for funding because we were constrained by the budget. And as we can see, the topics of the proposals were very various, and they were from natural sciences, from social sciences, humanities, technical sciences. You can see some of the topics that were mostly present in the proposals here. So the projects, 6 projects that received funding, I just go through them on these 2 slides. I won't go through the summaries of the projects, but you can see also from the titles of the projects that they are mainly in the topics of biodiversity, environmental sciences, sustainability. We have projects from biomedical research and public health. And we have 2 projects from social sciences, which was good. But something that was not so good is that we only had project proposals from 2 cities and universities, from University of Belgrade and only 1 from University of Novi Sad. So while the selected projects capture only some of the topics that are potential, they represent Serbia's well-established citizen science domains. So we see that the best projects that were funded are in these areas. In future calls, we will strive to broaden the thematic diversity of funded projects, but maybe we will also have thematic public calls in order to have some specific projects. And despite the concentration of coordinating organization coming from Belgrade and Novi Sad, the project teams will implement their research activities in a broader geographical regions of Serbia. However, this leaves room for wider inclusion of research organizations and universities across Serbia in the future. So this will be our goal to improve that. And also with numerous exceptional proposals contending for selection, we also have a decision by the Ministry of Science to increase the budget for such projects in coming years. And this reflects also the high interest and potential impact of citizen science in Serbia. And of course, Center for the Promotion of Science remains committed to fostering collaboration between researchers and citizens. And also, we will, of course, promote citizen science in general, continue to promote citizen science, and we expect even more remarkable outcomes in the future. So thank you for the attention, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thanks so much, Bojan. I hope that also other countries in the region will have similar calls because, yes, of course, budget is always the issue. But and this high oversubscription shows that there is an immense interest. So let's hope the budgets get increased and that there will be more opportunities around the region. Everyone, I think, can ask further questions to Bojan also in the chat. Because the next speaker is one of those researchers in Serbia, very active in the field of citizen sciences, Zelka Sadivkovic, sorry. She is also the winner of one of the prizes that the WBC RRI-Net project has launched. We wanted to identify good practices in the region, and her application was selected as one of the very good practices and presented as well in our project. So we're very proud to have her here and present her here, the initiatives as well of the Star Center of Excellence for Behavioral Research. She's focusing on psychology and employed at the University of Novi Sad, Faculty of Philosophy. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Elke, for this very nice introduction. So hello, everyone, also from my side. Well, Elke already mentioned what are our main goals in the STAR Center of Excellence for Behavioral Research in Psychology. But what would I like to mention at the very beginning is something that Tiana said in her presentation, and that she listed around maybe 10 or 12 projects, citizen science projects in Serbia. I would just like to say that 3 of those projects are actually underdone by Star Center. But today I will present you 2 other citizen science projects that we did, because all these projects that Diana mentioned are already on RRI initiative and on the website. So if you are interested in those projects, you can easily find it there. So I will take now a time machine to go back to 2020, when we started to create online platform for data collection. It seems that it has nothing to do with this topic, but actually it has, or unfortunately it has, because in 2020 the COVID-19 pandemic started, and the online platform that we already were creating for examination of twins and their families, because that was the main research vision and mission in our STAR Center, just stopped. We already had some volunteers. They were not citizen scientists. They are just like volunteers in STAR Center that are keen on or that were keen on topics of twin life, twin connection, and so on. So these people started to write to us questions like how can we cope with these difficult times, how we can cope with a state of emergency, what are the emotional reactions, are there any problems like with alcohol misuse, with interpersonal relationships, and so on. So we came to idea to use this online platform to create some, let's say, ad hoc project about daily monitoring of emotional reactions to the pandemic COVID-19 during the state of emergency in the Republic of Serbia. So this is my first example of a citizen science project, and it happened to be the first citizen science project in an area of social sciences in Serbia. So what we did is we included these motivated participants and volunteers to various phases of a research process. They were asking research questions. They helped us to make surveys. We educate them how to process data, how to analyze data. They then motivate participants to stay in this research, since we had repeated measures, and after all, they were involved in dissemination activities. So the main outcome of this project was that we collected a lot of information about emotional and other aspects of well-being during the 8 weeks of state of emergency in Serbia. As I mentioned before, this research was completely online. We collected more than 18,000 responses, more than 500 per day, and about 1,550 participants from the Republic of Serbia were engaged in all those daily, weekly, and monthly surveys. So what was the job of our citizen scientists? As I mentioned before, they ask research questions, they promote research, motivating participants, and were included in various dissemination activities. This is just one of the example. What was like the promotion? Our citizen scientists also were included in processing the real-time data. So every other day during these 8 weeks, we were putting informations like this on our website and social networks, and also disseminating it through different media. This web page is in Serbian, so I'll just give you an example. The question was how you structure your time and obligations during the isolation. So we gave, along with our citizen scientists, some basic results, and also some, let's say, tips and tricks created by psychologists, like by the researchers, how to cope with these difficult times. This was very interesting for broader audience. So as you said, as you've seen before, reach was very high. This is the example how we acknowledge our volunteers on our website, but also we had many institutions, scientific and other institutions, involved in disseminating of our research results and promoting the research. So we also had, let's say, the network of stakeholders that were included in this topic. These are some of the research papers that were published with this data. We also acknowledged our volunteers in the research papers, and we gave them a certificate and volunteering badges. So as I mentioned in the very beginning, all of these started because we were conducting twin study and maintaining a twin registry, the only twin registry in this part of the Europe. Before we were included in citizen science projects, we were very dedicated and highly dedicated to open science principles. So this was like the natural step forward in our research process. So the second example I will use to actually motivate you to think about your research projects and how to make them citizen science project, because twin study started not as a citizen science project, like just regular research project, but we including citizen scientists, or actively including citizen scientists and make this project citizen science project. So in 2021, we put something like this on our website and social networks. It's called like, if you want to take a part in research process, are you interested like how genes and environment can shape our behavior? Are you interested in twin life? You can contact us to become a citizen scientist. So in this first year, we had 14 citizen scientists. We conducted 5 webinars in different phases, as Elena mentioned, different phases of research, from training to data collection to training for public engagement. We also, along with them, conducted a Twin Day, National Twin Day, and public master class from behavioral genetics. We collected around more than actually 25 twin pairs, and our citizens were included in various stages, from conceptualization of research problems. For example, they were interested in how political attitudes and some social attitudes are heritable, or if they are heritable, and how can we see in twin pairs some similar social goals or political attitudes, and so on and so on. They were also writing a blog with different topics. This is also a web page with different topics in Serbian, unfortunately, that were our different topics in blog, also very popular among citizens. Until 2023, we collected 200 twin pairs. This is important to notice because twin pairs are rare in the population. Serbia is also a small country, so these are like very impressive numbers. And what is more impressive, that we now have around 100 citizens that are actively involved in citizen science activities. So at the end, these are some pictures of public events. On left, you can see National Twins Day. So this is the photograph of research, citizen scientists, and also our twins and their families together. We had a lot of fun. And on the right, this is a picture of one of the webinars that we conducted and all the other public events. So what are the lessons learned? Some of those already we heard from Elena in the first place, but also Jana and Claudia. Claudia mentioned that motivation is very important for our citizens, and what we learned from these projects is that higher involvement of citizens actually led to higher motivation to be part of the project and to sustainably think about projects. So we involved our citizens in different stages, from creating research problems to dissemination. Trainings and educations that also Elena mentioned were very important, and we are trying to have those educations and trainings in various stages of the project. Also data validation, ethical principles, and everything that is that is shared between citizen science and, let's say, regular traditional research projects. So at the end, we are building a community of citizen scientists. You could see in those pictures that we are also having a great time. So social relationships are also important part of the scientific work. And if you have any questions, please ask me. This is the first guide to citizen science, also publicly available. You can easily find it on Google or our website. Unfortunately, for now, it's only in Serbian language, but it is used like step-to-step guide how to create citizen science project, especially in social sciences, since there are much more projects for now in environmental science or biology, biodiversity, and everything that we already heard. So thank you for your attention, and please ask me or contact me if you have any questions for me or for my team.
Wonderful. So yeah, this is you made me smile all over the face. So it looked like you have a lot of fun, and I think this is also encouraging for others, and to share this guide. We have one more presentation before we end, And this is Alessia Smagnotto. She is from the School of Advanced Studies in the Social Sciences from France. And she will present a few more resources that can be exploited in particular for the social sciences, as we also just heard that this is very important to encourage. Alessia, I would give the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you. While I launch the slide, can you please put the thumbs up, the ones of you that must leave imperatively at 3:30? Just to know if we have 3 minutes buffering after.
Looks good. And we will also continue recording. So I see 1 or 2 thumbs up. So
Okay.
but most people will be staying and the recording will also continue. And I will look very much forward to your presentation.
Okay, thank you. I will try to make it shorter than planned anyway. So anyway, as we see all over the presentation until now, there is citizen science among the social science and humanities. Claudia started mentioning some project and we see other example. And the last one was really interesting among all the ones that have been cited. So it exists. There is a lot of example across several disciplines: linguistic, philosophy, history, art studies, archaeology. So you can find them online, maybe not under the name of citizen science. So this is the tricky thing, that it can be hidden under other names, such participatory research, action research, or public humanities. And this is why it is a bit difficult to track, but it do exist since a lot of time. The Coeso project I coordinated was focusing to have more citizen science in social science and humanities. So the main goal was supporting participatory research. So you see, we don't call it always citizen science. We use both terminology. In the social sciences and humanities disciplines, we have a website that you can check to see all our activities. So coesohypothesis.org. Well, we had a lot of partners. I just show the pictures to let you see how many organization takes to support more citizen sciences in the social science and humanities across Europe. And we supported specifically 10 pilot projects that has been an example of what can be done as participatory research in these disciplines. And also they contributed to the development of a platform, the Vera platform, we will see at the end of the presentation, that is specifically designed to support small-scale participatory research projects. So I invite you, I have the list of all the topic and the disciplines, but I not go through. I will let you take a look at all the pilots project from our website. And just notice that they really go across a lot of topics, from mass tourism to fight against crime and climate change on coastal territories, and dance and philosophy. So really a lot of diversity of topics and stakeholders involved and disciplines involved. What was specific in our pilot by design, that was a specific choice, was to focus on small scale projects and focusing mainly on supporting the collaboration between the researchers and the mainly third sector practitioners. That could be journalists, artists, members of association, members of social enterprises that work together. So supporting them in designing, conceptualizing, and implementing the project that had eventually targeted specific concerned communities. So I say that Coeso was to support participatory research, and we see in the previous presentation that it take a lot to support citizen science. So we also had an internal open call for a new pilot. So 5 were designed since the beginning, and 5 have been selected through an open call. We also received a lot of proposals, more than expected, and only for social science and humanities project, so 170. We produced an open call guide that you can find on the Nodo, searching for the Coeso project deliverables, and that can be of inspiration if you need to set up a call. And the process included 2 steps. I mean, the 2 steps was a really short proposal. Then we had a mentoring meeting to suggest how they could improve the project, and a second submission for a longer, more elaborated project. You will see all the detail in the open call guide if you are interested. The other support part was providing spaces for mutual learning, as well for the pilot participants, so all the members that were implementing the pilot, and also to larger communities interested in participatory research. So here you have an example of a mutual learning among the pilots, and a training that we did in Bonn for interested practitioner in citizen science. Also, another part of the support has been helping the pilot in communicating their activities. So they all have had a specific blogging space in an academic platform that is called hypothesis.org, that is focused on social science and humanities research. And at the project level, we also helped them highlight their contribution and outcomes through a podcast, and through an article series targeting European youth that was translated in 3 languages. All this that I really briefly summarized is more extensively explained in this 3 last deliverable of the project, that are a general report on the contributions of social science and humanities to citizen science, including all the part of naming and framing citizen science that I just mentioned. How we did multilingual and multi-stakeholder communication to support the pilot activities. And also here you see a last policy brief where we suggest how scholarly communication communities, citizen science communities, and SSH can join forces with also the infrastructure stakeholders to foster more citizen science in the social sciences and the humanities. And here we are. If some of you or some of the person you working with you or that you know want to implement a small-scale project in social science and humanities, you can use the platform that we developed within Coeso, that is Vera, where it's possible to discover new partners, manage the collaboration among the project, highlight your project, find funding, and be more visible through these activities. Vera is not a standalone platform. We want it to be integrated in the larger landscape of research infrastructure in Europe, and it is also connected with the EU Citizen Science platform. Here you have only screenshots, but the platform is alive. You can join at vera.operas.io.org, as you see on the screen, and you can register and take a look, upload your profile, and if you have running projects, you can highlight them if they are including social sciences and humanities inside. And as I said, you can find their other projects. You can find person that can work with you, and you can find specific funding for social science and humanities projects. Okay, was quick, but as the organizers say, the presentation will be shared, so you will have all the resources there and you can take a look with more ease.
Yes, thanks so much, Alessia, for covering this in the very short time that we had. I do really hope, as a social scientist myself, that we will be able to spark nice new projects. Also to recall again the impetus call. There is money available, so all the participants. I would like to close the meeting just by sharing you also what has in the meantime arrived in terms of association and terms that came up for you with citizen science. I think it is a very positive agenda for community cooperation, involvement, empowerment, but is it easy to develop, and there is a time management issue. It's fast to implement. It's science that supports the citizens, participatory, democratization. It does need incentives for people to join, but it also gives a lot of opportunities. It's diverse, it's engaging, it's bottom up. It's also complex, it needs a bit of training. And I think overall there is a lot of communication, and I hope we contributed a little bit in this exchange, showcasing the really good practices that are already in the region, and hopefully inspiring some researchers that have not yet considered citizen science in their toolbox as a future possibility. We are very grateful to all the participants and all the presenters. Thank you very much. The recording will be also made available, and yeah, it was great spending this afternoon with you, and we hope you all enjoyed and also learned something new and felt inspired, and we achieved the objectives of our webinar. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh yes, in particular thanks also to Jana, who really brought all this together and did the research and all the background work. So thanks a lot for the WBC RRINet project and our funding. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.